Hi, I'm LeftWink LightWork, coming to you from Long Beach, California, with a message for today, April 10th, 2020. This is Mira. Yes, I know. You just want attention, huh? She's like, you look at me. She wants to be a part of the message today. Okay, so I come to you with a message today. Let's go ahead and start with a prayer, just to welcome in spirit. Infinite One, Father God, Mother Earth, angels, guides, ascended masters, Mira, we call on you to be a part of this gathering today, to bring forth messages meant for the highest good of all watching and the highest good of the world, of the collective. We thank you for being with us in quarantine and for bringing forth messages that we most need today. Thank you, God. Okay, so I'm coming to you today to talk about the current energies that we're all experiencing in some way or another. But for me, they've been coming up in some particular ways and for people in my life. So when I start to see reoccurring themes, when people call me and or message me and they tell me certain things that resonate with things that I'm going through, that's how I pick up on the current energies. And then I also watch a lot of daily reads and just do a lot of observing. So the current energies that a lot of people are experiencing this past week are standing up for what you believe in and learning to communicate boundaries in respectful ways, learning to speak about what we believe in loving ways, learning to honor other people's past but still honor our own. Mira's really is like, pay attention. Say hi again. Say hi. Hello. Okay. Down. So I have some notes here that I'm looking at. She knocked them down. Okay. So the current question being asked of a lot of us is who or what is pushing on your boundaries or challenging your belief systems? So, who or what is pushing on your boundaries or challenging your belief systems? And where are you being pulled to? So, you might have sensed that pulling in things that were popping up for you as far as like passions or desires about things that you really want to get started on, projects that you want to pursue, maybe relationships you want to pursue, but you've definitely been being called into one particular area of your life. And that could be to take a stand. It could be to communicate with somebody that you haven't communicated with. Again, this will present differently for each of us in its own way because we each are walking our own divine life path. So, in my life, this presented with a situation that arose in a Facebook group that I moderate. It's a spiritual group, and I started this Facebook group to be all inclusive. Sorry, keep getting tongue tied. All inclusive and welcoming to all faiths and all spiritual practices. So I meant it to be a space where people could come and share their personal belief systems through sharing things that they do for spiritual practice. It could be maybe they use tarot or oracle cards. Maybe they do a daily spiritual devotional with the Bible or another spiritual text. Maybe for them, dancing is a form of spirituality, or maybe music is how they express their spirituality and how they create sacred space for others. We all bring certain gifts to the world, and we all, again, walk our own path. And so I really wanted a place where people could come to feel safe sharing what they believe, sharing their spiritual practices, and just learning from each other. Not just a place where I'm posting things, but a place where we could all post things. And I have some people that are really participating on a regular basis. I have some people that comment once in a while. I have some people that never say a thing, but I know that they're there because I see when people look at our posts. It's part of what you do as a moderator. So I know who's present. And recently there was a member that had been posting for a pretty significant period of time. I want to say 3 to 4 months at least. This member, who'd been a member of our group for 5 years or more, had posted, had been making posts and comments that were consistently pushing up or poking at other people's posts. So if somebody posted something, they might make a snarky comment, or things that they were posting were clearly like poking at the page, like at images that were posted on the page. Like they would say something like basically picking apart the image, or they would make posts that were clearly hinting at my way is the right way and what you're all doing is wrong. And that was really difficult for me. And it's something that's been presented to me multiple times in life as an empath and as a spiritual person, a kind person, a loving person, somebody who does consider other people's feelings and you know, I really try to practice the golden rule of do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And unfortunately, we live in a world where there are people that know that you're that type of person, and they will push up against your boundaries and they will poke at you because the expectation is that because you're spiritual, because you're loving, that you will not speak up to them, you will not defend yourself, you will just continue to accept the abuse, because in a lot of times it is abuse, because it's done in a not very loving way, and it's not meant to build you up, it's really meant to tear you down. You have to understand that when people behave this way, it's a physical manifestation of their inward world. So when somebody's being contentious, oftentimes it's because they're very contentious in their own heart and their own mind. You have to understand if this person is treating you that way, how are they treating themselves? Probably the same way. So for me, what really came up in this situation was I was faced with that choice of how do I present, how do I maintain love and light, but still confront this person on something they've been doing for a very long time that I knew I could not tolerate anymore because it was infringing on my own boundaries, and it was taking a spiritual space, a sacred space that I had created for myself and for others. The image I get was it was like I invited this person into my spiritual home. You know, you invite someone over to your home because you want to share a part of yourselves with them. It's a very intimate time to say, hey, come over to my house. You know, when someone invites you to their home or to their spiritual home, their church, they're really sharing a very intimate part of themselves with you. And so here I invited this person into my spiritual space, into a sacred space I put a lot of energy and time and thought into and love into for myself and for others. And it's like she was coming in and she was just taking a dump on my sanctuary floor. And I had to really think about that and think, if I don't confront this, I'm not loving myself and I'm not respecting the spiritual space I created and the sacred space I created, because I'm allowing someone to tarnish it. I'm allowing someone to smear dung all over it and say, hey, what you're doing is not okay. It's wrong. This is not an okay place. And so to not stand up to that and to not say something was not only speaking up for myself, but it was also not speaking up for the other people in this group that came to this place for the same reasons, that participate in that space for the same reasons. Because maybe they don't have a spiritual home. For some, that little Facebook group is their only spiritual home. For some, because they don't have a church to go to. Because maybe their beliefs aren't in alignment with most mainstream churches or religions. So I was faced with that choice to defend and protect the sacred space that I had worked so hard to create for myself and again for other people. And so the way that I did that was I was from this particular faith belief. I actually grew up with this particular faith belief that this person was coming from, and I have ultimate respect for that faith belief. But as an individual, my belief systems, my spiritual beliefs have expanded beyond just that one faith. But I knew how to speak the language because I grew up in it and I was a leader in that faith for many, many years. A worship leader, a spiritual leader, small group leader. I organized retreats, spiritual retreats for this belief system. So I know the ins and outs. And so I spoke the language of that individual. And I used texts from that faith belief to call her out on the behavior that she was bringing. And one thing in particular was I made a point to call out that it was blasphemy, really. The way that she was behaving was not in alignment with her belief system. And it actually went to the contrary of it, where it was actually bringing hate into a very positive group and into a very positive post. The post that became the contention was so positive. For somebody to find something negative in it, again, shows that person's mindset. But I knew I needed to call it out. The one thing I did was I made sure to tell this person that they were allowed to stay in the space as long as they were going to honor the intention of that space. I made sure to explain what the intention was, and I gave that individual the opportunity to exit if they wished and to go in love, and I wished them well, or to stay and to respect the space that I had created for us all. And ultimately, the individual chose to exit, and I'm trying to maintain anonymity here. It was done in a very hateful way, and a lot of insults were thrown out before the person exited the space. Again, it's not my job to heal everyone. As an empath, as a spiritual person, it's not your job to be a doormat and to accept negativity and insults from somebody for standing up for what you believe in, especially if you're doing it in a very loving way. And love sometimes is chastising. Love sometimes is rebuking. Love sometimes is calling someone out on their bullshit. Because if you really love somebody, you're not just going to tolerate them doing things that are hurtful to you and to others. If you turn a blind eye, that's not love. So I took it as an opportunity to educate. I took it as an opportunity to hopefully awaken in this individual the reality of what they were putting out into the world and to remind them that what they put out will come back. And I choose to put out love as much as possible. I am not perfect by any means, and I definitely make mistakes. But ultimately, my main intent is to spread love and light. And so it really felt like it was important to explain what this space has been created for, not only my Facebook space, but the LeftWink LightWork and positively balanced spiritual spaces that I've created for energy work, for healing, for people to come, for spiritual guidance, wisdom, and to share as well. And so the one scripture that really came to mind for me is actually from Matthew chapter 7, verses 15 through 20. And it's from the Bible, New King James Version. I'm going to read it to you. You will know them by their fruits. Beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravenous wolves. You will know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes from thorn bushes or figs from thistles? Even so, every good tree bears good fruit, but a bad tree bears bad fruit. A good tree cannot bear bad fruit, nor can a bad tree bear good fruit. Every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. Therefore, by their fruits you will know them. And I think that's really important because it's really easy for someone to come to you and to tell you what they believe and why what they believe is right. It's really easy for someone to spin colorful words to you, either about their spiritual beliefs or just life in general. Some people can tell you what you want to hear, and they're very good at it. There's people that will come to you and spin fancy tales. Just turn on your television today and watch the news. And there's plenty of stories being told about why we're in quarantine. But again, you will know them by their fruits. So it doesn't matter what a person says. What really matters is what does a person do. It doesn't matter if you pray every day or meditate every day. Because if you're praying and meditating every day, that's about you. What also matters is what do you bring to the world? What are your fruits? Because praying and meditating won't change the world in and of itself. What changes the world is when we have an inward change, and then that inward change ripples out into the world, and we make an impact on others because of the work that we're doing on the inside. So going inward is really important, but also what's coming out of you. So you will know them by their fruits, I think is a really important thing for us all to think about when we're interacting with others. Do their actions match their words? Do their words match their actions? If not, it's something to really take a close look at. I'm going to go ahead and pull some cards, but one thing I wanted to say too, and I kind of skipped over it, is I've always lived by the motto to always choose love. And it's easy to see love as forgiveness and acceptance, but sometimes it does come out as chastisement or rebuke, like we talked about before. Sometimes the most loving thing to do is to ensure that you are loving yourself. And sometimes that means saying no, and that is not okay. Sometimes to truly love yourself and people, you need to make sure that you can't, first of all, you can't heal everybody, right? And as an empath, as a light worker, there's a lot of people that come to you and want the energy that you provide to the world. They're thirsty for it, and it's okay. That's what we're here for. But what we need to learn as light workers and empaths and spiritual guides, because many of the people that are part of these spaces are in this energy, is that you can't help everybody, especially those that aren't truly coming to you for healing. Some are just coming to get that energy that you provide. So it's learning to use that discernment and learning when it's okay to say no and when asserting a boundary is necessary for you and for others. So that's one of the hardest lessons I've had to learn, and I'm sure many of you are probably learning, is that loving and respecting of self and your right to a peaceful and happy existence, into a peaceful life, is just as important as other people's healing and happiness. So really learn to prioritize your own spiritual inner peace. Your inner peace has to be a priority. So when something pushes up against that peace, that's where you need to go inward and say, okay, how can I handle this in the most loving way? And again, sometimes that is saying no, because that's being loving to self. That is choosing love. Sometimes that's walking away. Sometimes that's as the scripture says, it says, every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. Meaning that when there's a tree in your life that is not bearing good fruit, that it's clearly bearing bad fruit, and that bad fruit is going to sour your life and the life of the other people around you, you need to cut it down and throw it into the fire. Sometimes it does mean walking away from somebody. It does mean blocking somebody on Facebook. Sometimes that's what needs to be done, because that's you loving and protecting yourself and honoring yourself, and that is okay. So I just feel like that's a message that a lot of people needed to hear right now. I'm not good with video editing, so I'm not going to edit this video, so I apologize if it's long, but I did want to pull a couple cards before we end today, just for the current energies that we're all dealing with this weekend, April 10th and 11th. Actually, 10th, 11th, 12th. It's only Friday. I feel like it's Saturday already because my spring break started. So I was not working today. Oh, I have some jumper cards in there. Okay, so I'm going to pull one card today. What are the main energies? What are the messages for this weekend for everyone listening? And I have family, belonging, community, culture, and tribe. And I think this is the perfect card for today. Hold on if I can get it in there. Look at that. It says family, and there's a nest with 2 eggs in it. And I think this is so important because we were talking about sacred space, right? Inviting people into your home. So I think of that as your nest. So this weekend, Easter weekend, right? We're celebrating the resurrection of Jesus, his death on the cross. For some of you, you may not celebrate that. You might celebrate, I think it's Ostara, right? The pagan holiday. Basically, the beginning of springtime, the transition from winter to spring. We just had the spring, what's that, March 21st? I'm going tongue tied right now, but you know what I'm talking about. The beginning of spring. So lots of, basically, we're celebrating and really being asked to be mindful of who we're inviting into our homes, who we're inviting into our sacred spaces, and really ensuring that the space that you are in right now, this quarantine space, is a space of nurturing, a space of safety, a space where you feel safe and loved and nurtured and supported. And if there's people in that space that are pushing up against your boundaries, are dishonoring you, it's a time to really reflect on, is this your community? Are you really surrounding yourself with people that are invested in your highest good? If not, you need to take a look at what you need to throw into that fire in the most loving way, of course. The most loving way. So really this weekend, spending time with loved ones. I know for some of you that's difficult because like for me, I'm on my own right now until tomorrow afternoon. My son's with his dad, so I'm here in my space with my two cats, and I love my own company, so I'm good with that. But for some of you, you're maybe living with people that you're not getting along with right now, or maybe there's people you want to be with that you're not able to be with physically. But there are ways to connect online. You can do Zoom or a Google Meetup, something virtual, or just give them a phone call. Just a good old fashioned phone call just to say hi and I'm thinking of you. For the tarot, I was going to pull some tarot cards, but the tarot cards actually just came out in the other deck. So we do have the Seven of Pentacles and the Ace of Swords. The Ace of Swords is about standing up and communicating your truth to others. Okay? It's a card of truthful communication, bringing communication to somebody for a new start, standing up for what you believe in. Again, it's the sword of truth. And there's a crown on this particular, the crown at the top of this card, on top of that sword. And I really feel like it's, what is your divine life path? What is your spiritual calling? Are you following it? Where are you being pulled? What message are you being called to speak out on today? And the Seven of Pentacles is that you've planted all these seeds. Oh, I'm learning how to use this. Seven of Pentacles is about planting seeds that have been planted. They've been previously planted, and now you're just waiting patiently to see the fruits of your labor. So seeds, we did plant. We planted those. We planted the seeds already. The seeds have already been planted, and now we're moving into that place of springtime, of things blooming, coming into bloom, seeing the fruits of our labor, and really looking at the seeds we planted and saying, gosh, were these the right seeds? And is there fruit, right? There it is. Sometimes when I'm reading, it's like I'm going down one path with my read, and then it's like, no, that way. So this is about, you will know them by their fruits. Really taking time to assess the fruits on the vines and the trees of the people, the community that you're in. Which ones need to be thrown into the fire and which ones are bringing value to your life. So that's the message for today. Thank you for being with me. I hope you learned something. I hope that this resonated with you. And if not, take the quiz, throw the rest away, and